Hello, everybody. Welcome to Erie Wellness Connect. I think we're on episode 4. We'll go with that. And today I have a good friend of mine on. Her name is Alex Conklin from Ophelia Fern Candles, which is a fairly new endeavor, we'll call it, here in Erie. So Welcome, Alex. How are you today?
Good. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, doing wonderful. So I was at home, but my internet was being crap at home, so I had to rush myself to my office here so that this would go okay. And I didn't want to cancel on you again, so.
It's okay. Life happens. It's okay.
Exactly. So, Alex, I wanted to bring you on today because I got your candles in the office here, and you and I are good friends through some mutual friends of ours, and you're inspiring in such a way that you recently made a big leap in your life, I believe, and you're jumping into entrepreneurship a little bit, and that takes balls. So I love to showcase people in Erie who are doing things like that, but how the candles also tie into wellness, why we have them at our office, and your uniqueness. I also love people who give permission just by being who they are to other people to allow them to be who they are. And I believe that wholeheartedly about you, Alex. Your uniqueness allows other people to bring out their uniqueness in themselves too. So that's why I wanted you on today. So Alex, my very first question, and let's just start with your candles or your candle company is called Ophelia Fern. And I would like to dive into what the heck that all means.
Okay. So I had that name kind of saved in my brain as something for a while. As I became an adult, I decided I didn't want to have children. But prior to that, that was a name that I had decided, like, if I was going to have a daughter, that was what I would name her. And that actually came from one of those, like, memes on Facebook. It's like, your hippie name is, like, your birth month is this, and the day number is this. And mine was Ophelia Fern. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I think I was, like, 17 when I saw that. So then I was like, okay, like if I have a kid, like that's what I'll name her. And then I was like, okay, I'm not having kids, but I still really love this. So it's just been like locked in my brain for a while. And then when I was trying to think of like what I wanted to call this whole thing with the candles and like eventually maybe more, I couldn't think of anything else that I liked. Nothing like stuck out to me. Nothing felt like it fit. And then I remembered that. And I like that I had Ophelia Fern tucked away. And I was like, maybe that's what I'll use. I really like it. I'm not going to use it for anything else. It feels like it fits me, like the vision I'm going for, like my brand.
Yeah.
So I feel like it really tied into, like it tied everything together.
Oh my God.
That is fit in like perfectly.
Yeah, that is perfect. I love that. And I love hearing how something from a while ago, like you said, that you just kind of tucked away. Here's the thing. When you start a business, you are having a baby.
Yeah, I kind of thought of that too. Like, this is something I birthed anyway. You know?
Yes, it is. I remember when I formed my corporation, my accountant at the time said, well, just so you know, you just had a baby. So it is. It's a whole entity itself. So yeah, that's perfect for it. I love it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background, because when I first met you a couple of years ago, you were working at a local hospital. Tell us about that and kind of what led to where you are today.
Okay. So for the past 8 years, I worked in healthcare. I recently left over the summer. I left healthcare finally for good. I kind of was just getting burnt out from it. I don't have a degree in any of that stuff. It was kind of something I like got an
You had to get a job.
Position. I was like, I need a job. I got an entry-level position, and then eventually like worked my way up into something, branched off into something else, and it kind of like, snowballed. And for a while, like that was fine, but I don't have the ability to emotionally detach myself from everything like a lot of the people in healthcare have to do. I can't do that. I couldn't do it, and being around sick and dying people all the time was just starting to wear on me. So I left that finally. I also decided I went from full-time to part-time because I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I have a lot of other things. So having more time to be able to give myself some grace was helpful. So I went from that to part-time to now I work at a local coffee shop. which feels like some people kind of see it as a downgrade, but it was actually the better move for me. I'm a lot happier. It's much more inconsequential. It's just coffee, which I mean, like, not to downgrade like what coffee is. Coffee is great, but it's just coffee. You know, I'm not worried about like being responsible for people not dying. So that has helped a lot. And then I also have time more too for these endeavors that I want to do, because I do have a very extensive artistic background.
I was just about
I wear a lot of other hats and I do a lot of other things. So having the time to be able to explore all these things and do the things that I want to do, maybe didn't have the energy to do or the time to do, is great.
Have you always been, you seem like you've always been a creative type of person. Were you like, say, are you from Erie?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you tell us about your creative background, I guess, or what kind of, tell me about that.
So for as long as I can remember, I've always been very like artsy fartsy. Like even as a kid, like in elementary school, people would be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I want to be an artist. And at one point I kind of like thought I wanted to give it up. And that was when I went to college. And then I decided, no, I do want to do it, and left college. I went to Votech in high school for art and design for business. So it was kind of like a mix of like graphic design and also like fine art things. So I do like the graphic design and the digital things. And I also do like photography and editing. I can't do 3D art, like anything with my hands, like clay, forget it.
Okay.
But I do like painting, drawing. I said photography.
Okay.
Well, candles now.
All of that is starting to make sense now. Now I get it, because you do help Matt Mead out with his photography. That's one of the places that I've met you. So that now that all starts to make sense. I'm like, okay. So you've always had this creative background, and the time finally came for you to say, I'm going to let go of responsible adult Alex and jump off and be who I've always wanted to be, really. And you jumped into candles. Why candles?
I don't know where the thought originally came from. Like somewhere like early last year, because I forget now that we're in 2025, so I have to say last year.
Right.
Early last year, I remember like seeing something about like seeing like somebody making them like online somewhere. And I didn't realize like how accessible it is to do it. I almost said easy, but it's really not that easy. But like when I think of making candles, I think of like a Yankee Candle Factory. And I had always thought like that would be cool to do, but I'm like, I don't know where to start. And also like perfumery has always been very fascinating to me. Like I'm very interested in like scents and how that all works and plays together. So that idea of making it myself seemed really cool. And so I'm like, okay, well, how, like, is this something that's practical? Like, could I make candles? Like, that's a thing? It is a thing.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, well, let me see if this is something that would actually be practical for me. Let me try it a little bit and see, you know, if I like this, if I don't. And I did. And I kept doing it. But I think it was just something that I think everyone kind of likes candles, but I really like candles. So it kind of seemed like a no-brainer once I found that like little speck of inspiration. It was like, well, duh, yeah, I'm gonna go do that.
Okay, so it's been about a year now that you've been really playing, I don't want to say playing, but playing with candles and perfecting, right?
Yeah, I think almost a year. Yeah, it was like early last year. I kind of started the research process of everything.
When you go to sit down to make the candles, tell me what that process is like. Like, how long do you sit down and make these? Do you spend an hour? Is it an all day type of thing? What's the process of candle making like?
So it's very technical. There is some timing involved with things. So depending on how much you're doing and what you're doing, it can be all day. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. The thing is, sometimes the timing isn't always exact either. So it kind of just depends. But if I have a scent ready, like if I know exactly what the scent is going to be and I'm not experimenting with anything, I'm just making the candle, it's, like I said, very technical. There's a lot of like science behind it, you know, like what temperature does wax need to melt at? What temperature does it need to be to put the fragrance oil in? How long do you need to mix that for? What temperature does it need to be when you pour it? What temperature does the jar need to be, or whatever you're pouring it into, need to be? The temperature of the room that you're in, the climate of the room. How long you let it sit and melt for, like the wax when it's melting? How long do you let it sit and cure for after you've poured it for it to be solidified? And then all of the different components that go into that. So actually pouring the candle, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Pouring it, I feel like, is the easiest part.
So that type of stuff always fascinates me because as an end product user, we're just like, ooh, a candle. Let's light it up. Let's smell it. All of the work that goes into it, right? People are so unaware of all of that. Your scent and the names of your candles, I love, are unique. They are totally Alex. What I love about products like this is that they can't help but exude the personality and character of the person who's making them, right? So that all comes across in the end product that you're giving out. So tell me, how do you come up with the scents? Because that's got to take some talent and a lot of playing around, because I would suspect that you get a lot of scents that are not very nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how do you perfect finding the perfect name for them?
So figuring out what scents I want to do, I get a lot of ideas. I have like a note in my notes app on my phone of like all of these different ideas. And not a lot of them, I would say some of them kind of start with the name, where I'm like, I want a candle to be this. I'm not going to give any away that I was going to say like one that I'm thinking of potentially, but I don't want to give it away yet. But I'm trying to think if there's one that I have out now. Like cinnamon French toast is very like self-explanatory. The beach one, Punaloo Beach. I wanted a beach kind of scent. So that one was like, okay, I want a beach one. What do I do to make it smell like what you think of a tropical vacation? And then some other ones where maybe not necessarily I have ones that are kind of the name, and then ones that are more of a vibe. So like, I want this kind of vibe. What is that going to smell like? And then naming it. As far as naming goes, at first, so like way early last year, before like all this stuff came out about how bad ChatGPT is, I was using ChatGPT to come up with some names. I would feed it like, okay, create a name for a scent that has this, this, and this. And it would give me some ideas. And it took a little bit to get something that was quite right. I'd be like, well, try maybe something more like this and something more like this. And a lot of times too, I would kind of take what it gave me and play with it a little bit in my head and kind of like tweak it to make it my own thing. Because a lot of the, like I said, the smells are a vibe, as opposed to like it's this, and it's this. Like it's a mood, it's an experience. Yep. So kind of getting a name to reflect that. Like Elysian Velvet, for example. I wanted something that sounds opulent. It sounds fancy, because that's kind of how it feels to me. So I wanted something that reflected the exact kind of like feeling, I guess. I don't know what word I'm kind of looking for. Like vibe. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I just keep saying vibe, but like that kind of essence that I'm going for.
Essence is a good word. Well, so here's the thing. When any of us start a business, we start it because we want to create an experience, the end product for our clients, for our people. So when you're starting with that idea, and sometimes when you're doing a business, this can get lost in the way because you're thinking of all the things of how to make the scent, do this, do that. But really, you're doing this for your people who love your candles, who use your candles to light at the end of the day, to create an ambiance for themselves, to feel better, to feel comfortable, to maybe relax on the couch and to have that smell bring back an experience or a moment in their life. To me, and that's part of the reason why I'm having people like you on here, because all of these things are part of wellness. And so I know when you're creating these candles, you're thinking of that end product. How is this going to create a vibe, a feeling for people at the end of this product when they're sitting around, right, experiencing my candles? And that's the importance of what you're doing here, is spreading joy in that sense, or comfort for people. And so that's what you're doing for your community. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yep. So, and that's part of the reason why I love talking to people like you, because while I am the person at the end of your product laying on my couch, appreciating the scent of this candle, sometimes it's good to take a moment for us as end product users to say, oh my gosh, think about all the time and thought and heart that went into just making this one candle for me to enjoy at the end of the day when I really need it, you know? Yeah. So those are things that I just want people to remember and to realize that there's a face behind these products. There's a heart, and it's people like you, Alex, who are spreading that type of joy and wellness in our community. So I thank you for that. So Alex, tell us, what's your personal favorite candle that you've invented so far?
I think my favorite is Ember Cashmere, which is kind of funny also because I came up with it on accident and then I just ended up really loving it. And then I ended up like getting really good feedback for it too. Like, and that was like in my very early phases of like coming up with scents. And I didn't know like when I first did it, I didn't know if it was going to stick around, but then I kept getting really good feedback from it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I like that validation of like something I really liked, other people also liked, and we're kind of agreeing on like what I thought, like what I was thinking when I was smelling it or thinking of it. It's so like cozy and warm. And it's so like, it's got like a little bit of sophistication while also being not too like overly complicated.
Right.
Like it's so simple, but so warm.
It's a happy little accident, like Bob Ross would say, right?
Yeah. I was trying to come up with my fall scent. I challenged myself to do a fall scent without cinnamon because I know a few people with cinnamon allergies. And I was like, how do you have a fall candle or a winter candle ever that doesn't have cinnamon? That doesn't exist. So, like, you can't have these. So I was like, well, I'm going to make one. And I was kind of experimenting with some of the smells, kind of how I wanted to combine them. And I did the apple with the 3 of the notes that are in Ember Cashmere, which is the clove bud, the cashmere, and like a fireplace kind of smell. And I did that with the apple, and I kind of didn't like it. But I was like, what if I took the apple out of it? I wonder how those would smell together. So I did that. And then that was how that was born. And I really liked it. I was like, okay,
fun.
Maybe we'll keep this. And then everyone else really liked it too.
Awesome. Where are you selling your candles at?
Right now, physical locations are just with you. I do craft fairs as well around town. The craft fair scene has slowed down a little bit now that the holidays are over, but I do post on my socials and my website when I will be having events, and I also sell them online on my website on Square. I'm thinking eventually I will be selling on Etsy, but that's kind of down the road. I've only been selling them for like a little over a month.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to, eventually expand, get in more physical locations within Erie.
Wonderful. Yeah, one thing at a time. It takes a little bit to grow for sure. What do you like to use candles for? Tell me about an experience that you like to create for yourself with candles.
Big one for me is kind of like how you were saying earlier, like the end of the day, you want to relax. I'm very like to have a lot of different sensory input. I don't know why. So I'll have, music playing and I'll be reading something, and then I'll also have a candle lit, so then it's a smell. It's another sensory thing. I like to have smelly things going, especially when I'm relaxing. So I'll light a candle, or I'll put I have a wax warmer, I'll put wax melts in there, which is another thing I'm working on. But so stay tuned for that. But so I like to have another element. And then also when you dim the lights and everything's cozy, you have that flickering light of the candle that makes you feel a little more cozy too. And then I think the other thing that a lot of, I didn't realize how many other people do this, having a candle lit when you're cleaning. I don't know why. And I think also it depends on what kind of candle though. But for some reason, it feels better. I don't know if it just makes me for some reason feel more productive, or the smell goods make me feel good. I don't know. Something about it kind of amps me up a little bit to keep doing my cleaning.
Do you think it covers the smell of the cleaning stuff?
Yes. I'm one of those people though, I'm very also sensitive to certain sensory input. So if there's a cleaning product that has a smell I don't like, I don't buy it. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to get things that I know I can tolerate smell wise. So that's not really a big thing for me personally, but I'm sure for a lot of other people it probably is.
I only ask that because my cleaning lady at my house, and I say that anyways, but she always has it. Every time I come home, she has the candles burning. So that's just funny that you bring that up. And I've seen her do that, and I'm always like, why is she burning candles? And I always assumed that it was just to cover up the smell of the cleaning stuff because she uses a lot of chemicals. But maybe it is. Maybe it is something that gives something to the enhancement of the experience of cleaning itself. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with mindfulness too. So mindfulness and intention, right? Like that light and that scent brings you to the here and now. Does that make sense? So yeah. I think that's somewhat helpful within that experience of maybe whether you're reading a book or listening to music or cooking or cleaning or whatever it is, right? It really brings you to being here. And I think that's part of the wellness aspect of it all too, is being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, you're aware in the present.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
And then also kind of like grounding in a way.
Very grounding. Yes. There's something about fire, right?
Yeah, very like primitive.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Where do you see Ophelia Fern going in 2025? What are your plans?
So I have some products in mind that I want to expand to. Like I said before, kind of like I want to do some wax melts as well. I've had a lot of people asking me about them. I want to be available in more spaces around Erie. Also, like I mentioned, I want to do more in-person events, finding them. Because in addition to being in a physical space, like having the products physically in front of somebody, I also like having a face that people can interact with and associate with the product, like the person behind everything. And so I recently found out, well, I didn't find out, but I noticed that my fragrance oils that I use, because they're clean burning, they're phthalate-free, sulfate-free, carcinogen-free, all that good stuff, they're body safe. So
what does that mean?
I've been thinking about maybe making some like body care products.
Oh, that is not where that's not where my mind went.
Oh my gosh, no. I mean like lotions and soaps.
Oh, okay.
Lotions and soaps.
Okay, all right, yes. I like that.
And like those aren't that hard to make either, apparently. I mean, obviously it's not like the easiest thing in the world, but it's doable. And there's a company that I get a lot of my supplies from that also has those kind of ingredients and supplies and things and resources. So I want to dive into that as well. So it's going to be, I don't know like what the timeline for that is going to look like exactly, but I think for this year, like that is a goal of mine, is to start expanding, like having something besides just candles. The candles will be the center of everything. That'll be my favorite part still, but incorporating other things into the world of the smell goods.
I love it. So if there's some businesses out there right now who might be interested in carrying your candles, how would they get a hold of you, Alex?
So I have an email for the candles. It's opheliafernetc@gmail.com. I also have a Facebook and an Instagram page. You can DM me on there. I'm always checking it. I'm always looking at it.
Not on Saturday mornings.
Of those.
Just kidding.
Like I mean, I get their notifications, but like if I like,
I'm just busting nuts.
I know. I check it periodically. Like I'm not gonna like ignore you for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like I do check it. I check my email like an insane person every 2 minutes. So yeah, email or socials.
Okay.
You can find me on there.
So you're looking for more physical places to be put in. So any local companies out there who love to carry unique local crafters, feel free to reach out to Alex here. And then if somebody just wants to buy some of your candles, other than maybe stopping into my place, how can they do that?
I have a website. It's on my socials as well. It's opheliafernCandles.square.site. You can order them through there. I deliver for free within Erie because I live here. I'll come bring it to you wherever you work, your house. Or you can also have them shipped. Like if you don't live in Erie or if you want to send them to someone else.
Okay.
I ship them as well. So you can order them all through the website. And then it tells you also like if I only have so many of one in stock, it'll tell you that as well. And then on there, I'll also post if I'm having any sales, if there's any, like when new ones come out, I post those as well.
Wonderful. And then one last little unique question for you. If you had to create a candle inspired by Erie itself, what would it be? What would the scents be if you had to?
First thing that comes to mind is hot dogs.
Oh,
But that's not a pleasant candle. Like, I'm like thinking Smith's hot dogs and sponge candy, but that's gross.
like hot dog water. I wonder if there's something, right?
Oh my gosh.
Lake
If I had
Erie.
to make it like, I feel like the lake doesn't smell good. See, okay, making like a candle scent for Erie, but like it's an appealing candle scent. I would go for like, I think I like the lake aspect, like a freshwatery, but not like gross. Like the lake kind of just does smell gross, but I would make it a more pleasant kind of lake smell, like water and greens. Maybe like a little bit of like driftwood or something.
Ooh, driftwood. I'm almost thinking too, do you ever drive through Northeast during the fall time, like the grapes and stuff?
Ooh, like the wineries. Getting a grape smell that's good is hard. Like getting a real grape smell. That would be a good idea though.
But something that's not too grapey. More, I feel like it needs to be more
like have the grape as like an undertone.
right. Right.
Yeah, grape. Do like some greenery, like greens, like, you know, like the vines and all the other like, you know, things they have going on out there. And maybe a little bit of like dirt, which I know sounds weird, but if you do it as a base note, I think it works with some things, especially if you want it to be earthy. Or like petrichor,
Ooh,
I think would be interesting with that.
what is that?
The smell of like, you know, the smell after it rains.
Yes.
That's the word for it.
Oh, you're so smart.
I've been getting really, this is like one of my special interests now. I've been getting really into perfumery and like finding all of these different things and what plays together and what does this, like I see words on things. I'm like, what does that mean? And that's why I looked up like, what is petrichor? I'm like, oh, because I've seen that on other like candles and perfumes and stuff. So
Yep. Awesome. So
my research.
So I know for me, candles, so I've gotten into a wellness routine where I love to take bubble baths and then light a candle. I get some tea made, and then I end up on my couch after I take my bubble bath. I've got the candle burning, got some tea made. I'll put my feet into my little foot massager thing, and it's that all immersive experience that without that candle really rounds out that experience for me, right? So
Yeah, it's it.
Yep. So I think I'm interested to see where things go for you this year. I love your presentation of your candles. I love the uniqueness, the scents, all of that. And you're right. All of that comes from you, from your heart, from your uniqueness. And I'm excited to share you with the Erie community. So thank you so much, Alex, for everything you're doing.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
All right. So next up, we're going to be talking to somebody from Parsley and Pear, which is an immersive experience for kids, but also adults. It's up at that 19th and Chestnut, those shops up there.
Yeah.
All that.
Okay.
They've got some really cool stuff going on up there. So we're going to have a lady on there next that's going to be telling us about all the cool things she's doing up there. So thank you so much, Alex. You stay right here. I'll meet you backstage, and I appreciate you coming on. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.